to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, I need to say that Dale is absent tonight. He is out of town on a business trip, so you have me. Get to listen to me. Please turn off cell phones or silence them so they don't interrupt the meeting. Kelly, can you call roll?
John Hedges.
Here.
Cheryl Armstrong. Here. Heidi Larson. Here. Ashley Overton. Here. Erica Weaver. Here. Steve Uphoff.
Here.
And Dale Ryder. Absent.
So, item number 2, reception of visitors, 2.1. Agenda visitors, 2.1A. Back to an FFA chapter. Students and staff are going to present.
Good evening, everyone. I am Abby Niemeyer,
I am Wayne Stuckey. And I'm Carter Ballinger.
and we're here to give you a little bit of a semester update from the Mattoon High School FFA chapter. So to start off, we did a lot of things over the summer, and the first thing we did was we held a summer retreat so that we could get upcoming and current members involved and kind of get to know each other a little more. We played some different icebreaker activities, we made some bracelets, and we planned for this year. The next thing that we did was we attended state convention that was up in Springfield, Illinois. We were able to hear retiring addresses and see the voting process for how new state officers kind of get into their position. Another thing that happened while we were at the state convention was Savannah Cole and I were able to receive our state FFA degrees. So in order to earn your state degree, you have to have a record book or a project. My project was over my horses in Savannah. Hers was over lawn care. Emma Spencer on the far right was also able to play in the state FFA band. Another thing that happened this summer was Savannah Cole was also able to attend the Washington Leadership Conference out in Washington, D.C. While she was there, she was able to tour and learn about the different historic parts of Washington, D.C. and also get to socialize and talk with different members from across the United States. Chloe Dodd was able to go up to the University of Illinois to attend an ag leadership or ag education camp where she was able to kind of step into the role of being a teacher and present and practice lessons.
So, in the first week of August, we got in and got those freshmen. We were recruiting them. We wanted them to come to us. And then we got involved with the community pretty quick. We went straight to the Farm Bureau and said, can we get involved with this? We got involved with the Touch a Truck event. That was awesome. And then we got involved again with the longest float in the homecoming parade. And then we had some students go to something with Representative William Davis. And then we brought out preschoolers through second grade to come see livestock. They learned about apples. Johnny Appleseed was there. It's called Fall Fest. And then we had students go to feed the farmers. They went to every grain elevator in the county, fed farmers, gave them candy and stuff like that, showing their appreciation. And then we went to National Convention over in Indianapolis. That was the 23rd through the 25th, where everybody in the States gets an opportunity to go there. And then we went to CTE night. That's where they brought people from the community in, and you can do stuff like that in a classroom setting. And then students had the leadership training out here at Lakeland. It was the leadership training school. And then we hosted the food science CDE, where the Mattoon team placed 3rd and Parker's Pierce placed 8th amongst individuals. I lost track of where I was. Oh, and then we had the Meet the Green Wave night, where Miss Sykes' classes and FFA members were able to make spaghetti for the Meet the Green Wave. And then the agronomy CDE was back out here at Lakeland, where students got to do or learn weeds, crops, farming equipment, and other stuff. And here's some pictures from November.
Now, so far December, we've had 2 contests, Dairy Foods and the Green Hen Quiz Bowl. Dairy Foods is a competition that, well, you have to examine or identify milk and different cheeses. And then the Green Hen Quiz Bowl is like basically questions over what FFA is and the history of FFA. And this was held in Newton. And then coming up this month, so we have the Coles County Agricultural Youth Event / fundraiser at the Eagles Club, which this is hosted by our alumni. This is on Friday. We are going to have cornhole, a dinner, live auction and a silent auction, and then next week we're going to have our chapter meeting and our Christmas party, and we're going to celebrate our year so far. Do you have any questions?
What did you guys do with that days?
We went to the Overton Tree Farm, and we went and basically just thanked him from his support, because he's our representative for our district.
So he's the adopted legislator for Coles County. So we were able to meet with him and show him what our schools are doing, and hopefully someday go up and see what his district does also.
Thank you guys so much.
So, yeah. If anybody wants to attend the thing this Friday night, can you give an update on like where you get tickets, are there tickets at the door?
There is tickets at the door.
Limited amount at the door, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good event on Friday evening at the Eagles. They started it last year, I think, and good opportunity for the community to come out and support the FFA chapter. Good food, good silent auction items. So,
You know, help cornhole competition, dinner, live auction, silent auction, all kinds of things to get involved, so you're more than welcome.
Are you okay with taking a picture? Okay. I don't want to take a picture without you. Oh, we're used to it.
Well, but still.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next on the agenda is 2.2 non-agenda visitors. The first one I received was Ken Wheeler.
I don't know where to stand, but I guess they stood over here. I have no slides. But I did write things down. So I just want to say, I'm thankful for the open doors to the public schoolhouse. I'm thankful for it because I believe in the power of the educated community to make a difference in this world, to build bridges. I'm thankful for public schools, from the one-room schoolhouse to the packed halls of today, whether rich, urban, poor, or whether rich or rural, poor, no, rural, urban, rich, poor, or in between. We don't exist to compete. We're all schools. We exist to educate. I'm thankful for the public school teacher. She's tired, overworked, underpaid, likely underinsured, but more often than not, full of hope. For the administrators showing up, for kids and teachers showing patience when it's needed and a stern reteach when appropriate. I'm thankful for the public school teacher who does the right thing for the student, whether or not it's popular. I'm thankful for the public school teacher who keeps showing up in spite of. It was a public school where I met friends who were just like me, and where I met friends who were quite different, where I learned from teachers who were just like me, and where I learned from teachers who were quite different. I believe in public education where a child will be met where they are at as best we can with the resources we have, with accommodations and second chances and third chances, and with a teacher who will advocate for her students. I believe there's power in the least restrictive environment. I believe that minds and hearts are open when children sit with their differently able peers. I'm thankful for the public school with its open doors to students, regardless of whether they have or they have not. Open doors to the parents, the grandparents, and the caregivers who can, and to those also who cannot, and to those who maybe today just can't even. I've seen the difficult conversations around conference room tables, and I can tell you that educators can handle what words. We have real conversations all the time. But if you could, save the cheap shots, come in good faith, not ready to fight, but ready to work together. I believe in the public school teacher who wakes up in the morning and worries if his students are safe today, who wonders if he'll ever get through the tough outer shell that's brought on by trauma. Will he ever really be able to reach that student? Who wonders if after giving his all, was it enough? Was it enough? Believe in the public school teacher whose discouraged heart keeps beating with the best interest of a child in their mind, who tries and tries again to reach that one kid who knows we just have to keep doing the next hard thing. I believe in the public school teacher who loves her students with interest care, and high expectations, with patience and also with tough love. I believe in public education, and I believe in public schools, in principals, assistant principals, and the custodians, the staff, the secretaries, because I see the pride they take in their work and I see the commitment. I believe in the hearts and expertise of these fine professionals and in the partnerships we have with parents, families, and the community. Thank you.
And our last one is Roy Blackburn.
I also don't have any slides, so I apologize. So I'm Roy Blackburn. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here. School board, teachers, administrators, community members, with maybe with students, maybe not. But thank you for spending Tuesday night with us. I'd also like to thank Ms. Schumacher, which was running the wrestling tournament, so I don't think she's here, for sending me an email that thanked me for speaking last month. So I'm once again speaking this month because I received no answers from last month. So I will again ask the questions. So I know you have my email address, because I heard from Ms. Schumacher. I also have my home address, my phone number, it's on that form. So I'm a little bit discouraged by not receiving any answers. So I'm asking again, does the funding follow the students at LIFT? I think that's important. I really want to get to the bottom of that because we said that before LIFT was voted on. $1,000 a semester. Is there a better way to budget? Is the budget going to be revisited? And I think it's responsible to revisit that if we have a deficit with the LIFT building. The numbers are in question as well. Are the majority of the students at LIFT, are they Mattoon students? So I'd like to know the ratio. And let's see here. Is there a better way for me to ask? Maybe that's it. I don't know. If I need to come to the office or meet one-on-one.
We'd be happy to. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So I'll end with this. As a retired Marine, accountability is important to me, and I'm disappointed by the lack of accountability. Thank you.
All right, so moving on to consent agenda, board action, 3.1, approval of minutes. 3.1A, regular board meeting, November 12th of 2024. 3.2, financial, payment of bills. 3.2A, presentation of bills for approval. 3.2B, monthly financial reports by fund. 3.2C, budget to actual report. 3.3, enrollment report. 3.4, approval of school improvement plans presented November 12th of 2024. 3.5, freedom and information report. Do I have a motion? Motion. Erica, and second? Second. Cheryl. Can you call roll, Kelly?
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Edges,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes. Reports and recommendations from the business manager.
All right. All right, we have a guest today, so we received our audit back last week. And so we have Nicholas Heller here, or Helton, I'm sorry, Nicholas Helton. I coached Nicholas Heller one time. Nicholas Helton from Kemper CPA Group, and he's going to talk about our audit for this year. Here you go, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. For those who don't know, our primary responsibility as auditors is to provide an opinion on your financial statements. We do that by testing the balances that are reported to us and make sure they're complying with laws, regulations, things of that nature, and ensure they're stated fairly, most importantly. So once we've done those tests, we are able to form an audit opinion. There's a few different types of opinions we can issue. There's an unmodified opinion, there's a qualified and adverse. And I won't go into the details of the definition of each one, because modified opinion. That's a clean audit opinion. That means we didn't run into any issues that we weren't able to reconcile, and nothing was so pervasive that it affected the report we submitted. So up next, I'm going to go through the financial summary here. So does anybody have any questions about the audit itself and what those opinions mean? Well, I'll dive right into these numbers here. So I think these metrics, because they, for the most part, they all factor into your financial profile score. So just starting with the top, you've got your cash and cash equivalents. And I'm mainly going to be focusing here on the fiscal year 24 column and the increase and decrease compared to the prior year. So you will see for fiscal year 24, as of June 30th, you ended the year with 23.7 million in cash, and that is down a little bit from the prior year. But I don't look at that as a red flag because there's a couple of metrics that play into this, and I'll get to those in just a second. Your days cash on hand, that is a metric of how long the district can operate and cover those expenses if money stopped coming in today. So how far could that cash balance carry you based on your expenses through the year? ISB's target for you is 108 days. You guys are just about there, and that plays on your financial profile score as well. The next line here is your long-term debt outstanding. You'll see you ended the year at 13.7 million. And that's down 4.9 million from the prior year, and that goes down as you pay down that debt. And there was some bond reasons that we reported this year to reduce that number. This next section here is your total revenues and expenditures. Your revenues were 52 million, which is down a bit last year, and I think the biggest factor into this is a lot of those ESSER grants and the COVID-related grants are going away now. So you're going to see these numbers start to drop again to the kind of pre-COVID levels unless something else comes into date to put something in. Expenditures, that follows the same thing. You guys have a lot of things that are reported on those grants. So your expenditures and revenues will kind of go up and down depending on the timing of those reimbursements from the state on those grants. So you may see that this revenue and expenditures is up and down over the past 5 years, and that is largely why. So those revenues follow those expenditures. But overall, you ended with a 2.6 million revenue over your expenditures, which is kind of like a net income. So that is a positive number to see. Does anybody have any questions about those numbers? These next two sections.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that I heard you correctly.
Yeah.
So the fluctuation that you're seeing now puts us back similar to or close to where we were pre-COVID.
I would expect the trend to go downward for your revenues for those COVID grants that are no longer there. Those ESSER grants were pretty significant over the past few years. So as those trickle down, or those will kind of fall off, you will see those revenues drop, but you'll also see those matching expenditures drop as well.
Okay.
So I don't think one should outpace the other.
Thank
And
you.
just for reference, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but that began in fiscal year 21 and carried through fiscal year 24, the tune of about $15 million over those full fiscal years.
Right, and we're finishing up actually this fall as well, so carrying into FY 25. So I think Don told me this week we've spent it all, so we're ready to move on.
Anything else I can answer? So these next two sections, these numbers are an estimated figure, but it's based on our audited balances. This is in your annual financial report, and it's part of your audit report. So while the calculation is not ours, it's based off the numbers we audited. So you'll see your estimated operating expense per pupil is 14,865. That's up a little bit from the prior year, which that follows your revenues and expenditures. That's one of the things that factors in there. And to give you some context for what that means, I pulled in the state average here, and the state is about 18,095. So you're beating the state average by $4,000. So you're effectively operating more efficiently than the average school district in the state. And the exact same story for the per capita tuition charge. It's the same deal where it's estimated based off of our audited figures. That number comes out to $11,421. And the exact same story where you beat the state by $4,000 or so. And this is what you would charge a student out of the district to attend a matching school district. So it is cheaper for a student to attend a matching school district on average than the other school in the state. And the last line I have here is the financial profile score. You guys landed at 3.9 out of 4. The only area for improvement is what I mentioned earlier, is the days cash on hand. You're a few days away. So I imagine that if this trend continues, you'll hit that 180 and you'll get a 4.0. I don't know if there's any extra credit for getting the perfect score because it's a recognition status that you've already achieved from this beat. That's the highest status you can achieve. So,
I have one question for you, Mr. Hilton. I noticed the cash and cash equivalents in FY '24 is lower than '23, yet we increased in days of cash on hand by 22 days. So I'm not sure if that's more appropriate to Mr. Gear or yourself, but could you, help explain that to me of why our cash and cash equivalents are lower, yet we do have more days of cash on hand to operate with?
Yeah, and that's a great catch, by the way, and that's not really reflected in here very well, but I think the biggest factor in there is that bond defeasance I mentioned, and how that worked is there was a liability on the books for a bond, but there was also matching assets that were servicing that bond, so when we took that bond off of the books, the assets went away as well. So the cash is down for that, so is the liability, so that's why you see the net income is up, but your cash is still kind of down overall. So that's what's going on behind the scenes there.
Wonderful.
Good catch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you, everyone, I appreciate your time.
I have a few more slides to go along with this, before we vote to approve the audit. But again, appreciate Nick makes things that are very complicated seem very, very simple. So, he does a good job explaining it. I think this will go toward answering Jake's question maybe a little better as well, so you can visually see it. The state asks us to provide or show our fund balances every year, and be very transparent on that. And so these are our fund balances from last year, okay, FY '23, and this would be FY '24, so these are the numbers that Nick was talking about. And just like Jake said, this number here is lower than this, but we have more days cash on hand. So in these next three slides, we're gonna talk about fund balances, and they're gonna all be different because it depends on what funds we're talking about. So state makes it a little complicated because you're dealing with different funds for different things. So these are all of our funds, and this is what Nick was talking about, is we went from 3 million in our 30 account, or our 30 fund debt service, down to 23,000. So we paid off, we had some money in an escrow account, that we paid off that ARB that expired last year. So that's where that came from. So you can see our 10, our 20, and our 40 funds went up, but our 30 fund went down. When they do cash, our days cash on hand, they only do 10, 20, and 40, and 70, 10, 20, 40, and 70. Those are our operational funds. So if you look at the next slide, I've just broken this out. These are 10, 20, 40, and 70. So these are since FY '17 to FY '24, and you can see our fund balance has grown, and our days cash on hand has grown. So that kind of summarizes what Nick was talking about, the answer to Jake's question, a little more detail. Okay, and then you can see this is what he was talking about, our financial profile score of 3.9. If we can gain 3 more days, then we get a perfect financial score from the state. Another thing that the state has now required, this is new this year, that we have to show this. And there must be some schools in the state that have a lot of money somewhere, because the state legislator came up with this. This is a new thing in school code that we have to show, and this one only does 10, 20, and 40. It leaves out 70, like the previous one had 70. And you have to take your expenses from those 3 funds over the last 3 fiscal years, which are here in each of these columns, FY '22, FY '23, and FY '24. You add them up and take the average of them. So our average expense in the 10 fund over the past 3 years was 36 million, 4.8 in our 20 fund, and 2.2 in our 40 fund. And you add all those up, then you take your fund balance, which Nick just gave us. Those are this 3 years. All right, you add those up, and then you take your reserves divided by your average expenses over the last 3 years, and it gives you a ratio. Our ratio is 0.446, which means we don't have to do anything. If this number is 2.5 or greater, you have to submit a report to the state to pay down your cash reserves. For us to hit that benchmark, we would need $109 million in our fund balance. So we're never going to have to do this, promise, okay? But I have to show you this every year. So this will become commonplace. It's new this year. So that's what it is. No action is needed. This comes from ISB. It's just a technicality that we have to cover. So like I said, there must be some school districts out there that are over 2.5, but we're not close. So we're in good standing. So it is recommended that the board approve the FY '24 audit as presented.
Motion. Second, John and Erica. Howard, can you call roll?
Larson?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Uphoff?
Yes.
Hedges?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Overton?
Yes. 4.2.
All right, this one again is a little complicated, but we'll work our way through it here. So a lot of our hourly employees belong to the IMRF retirement fund, okay? So teachers are in TRS, a lot of our hourly people are in IMRF. So again, here's just some basics about it. Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, it's a public pension. It was created by the Illinois General Assembly in 1941, serves over 3,000 employers, and it has $52 billion in assets throughout the state. Here's the best thing about it. It's almost 97% funded. TRS is less than 50% funded, okay, because the state didn't always pay the bills. I hope it's there when I can. All right, so, but this one's funded. It's always funded. They keep up with it. They stay on top of it. It's 97% funded. All right, the people in our district who receives IMRF benefits, custodians and maintenance, secretaries, transportation, paraprofessionals, and nurses. Okay, this is part of their benefit package. All right, so 4.2 is a resolution to disperse expenditures for IMRF unfunded liabilities. Okay, so each employer is responsible to have in the kitty or in the pool enough to cover their employees. Okay, if you don't, they raise your rates, so they make sure you fund them and that you pay for them. Okay, so our current IMRF rate is 10.03. Okay, we have over 4 million in unfunded liability. So that means our pool of IMRF money in the retirement fund is 4 million short of where it should be. It's not our fault, okay? It's just, it has a bunch of factors. These are the factors for that: prior service, benefit improvements, past service adjustments, changes in actuarial assumptions, demographics, and a big one at the end, investment earnings. If they don't earn 7.25% interest on their account, they charge us for it. So they make up it's not just us, it's every employer. So if the stock market falls short that year, they add it to your unfunded liability and you gotta make up the difference for them. That's why they're 97% funded, okay? So it's a great system, okay? But, so we've slowly fallen behind. This has gone on for several years, but we're up to 4 million. That's why our rate is 10.03. If this number was 0, we would pay, I think, 4.88%. So we're paying more to make up the difference. So my goal over we'll find out later, 5 years left, all right? And my goal is to get this down as far as we can and get this number down as close to 4.88% before I'm out of here. So today is the second step in that. The first step was we lowered our levy for this account last month. So we're gonna work on this to get this unfunded liability down and pay some of that off. Okay? If you want me to get more specific, let me know. Yes.
Yeah, say that again. We lowered our levy for that fund.
So on the 30 fund, we levied less in the 30 fund and more in the 10 fund last month. So we don't carry over a bigger fund balance every year.
Okay.
Okay, so that was our first step and to kind of get this under control a little bit. All right, so we have some extra money in the 30 fund this year, or in our budget this year. Okay, so my suggestion or my plan is that we pay a $500,000 advance to pay down $500,000 of our unfunded liability. In doing so, we can lower us by at least 0.5%. It's all based on projection by an actuary. They don't know exactly for sure until they actually run the numbers. Their fiscal year ends December 31st, and then they look at the exact numbers. But the estimates I've got when I've talked to IMRF is anywhere between 0.5% and 0.6%. We can lower our rate just by doing this. All right, so making this advance payment. To be able to make this advance payment, which is in the budget that was approved in September, I just need a resolution from the board that gives me permission and should lower by 0.6% by 2026 and save us an estimate of $40,000 a year going forward. So
And how many years did it take to accrue the 4 million?
that's a great question. I need to reach out to IMRF to find that out. I can do that for you next week. Sorry.
No, that's fine, I'm just curious as to.
I would say it's been going on for quite some time. And the way it happens is like, if we hire somebody who's a secretary and, the actuary says, okay, this is what we think their retirement's gonna be over in 25 years. And then maybe they change jobs in our district that makes them more money. And that bumps up, so then we have to make up that difference. Or if our benefits really increase in a contract or something like that. So like I said, it's not that anybody did, it's just over time, it's just built up.
Is the general plan to pay off 500 a year for the next?
I think what my plan is, and we've talked about as a team is maybe move this closer to June when we do this resolution. And so we can see kind of exactly where the 30 fund is. so that we can see how much money we have left, at the end of the budget, if we under budgeted or over budgeted, and see, and do it that way. The reason we're doing it in December right now is their fiscal year ends, and for this to take effect in 2026, we have to do it before December 31.
And you said you already have this built in the budget,
It's already built in.
so we're not gonna lose on our days
No.
fund, our
No,
177 days.
yeah, and actually it doesn't matter because the 30 fund doesn't count towards these
Okay.
days.
All right.
So
The 50.
55, if I said 30, I've said 30 fund over and over again, this is the
Okay.
50 fund.
So just to get some clarity to Cheryl's question, Brian, can you talk a little bit about why we lowered the levy because of the restrictedness of 55?
Right, so the 50 fund is this probably isn't the right word, but I'll call it, it's a trapped fund. When the money goes into the 50 fund, it can't be transferred to any other funds, and I apologize for saying 30 and not 50 all the time. So once it goes in there, it's stuck there. And the only thing we can do is pay benefits out of it, or do something like I'm asking us to do here, okay? You can't transfer it to your 10 or your 20 or 40. So really, any money that is in the 50 fund that we build up a fund balance in there, it's stuck there, unless we do something like this.
Are all the other funds besides the 50 movable?
10, 20, 40, and 70 can all be transferred back and forth. 90 can be transferred a little bit, but there's some restrictions on your levy when you do 90. 60 is pretty much stuck there, and 30 and 50 are stuck there. Yes, Shelly?
Does our unfunded change as people retire and leave the district and start taking IMRF? I mean, does it go up and down?
It changes all the time. Yeah, this unfunded liability could just go down naturally. Like this year, stock market's gone kind of crazy, so they may be well over 7.25%. So our unfunded liability may drop some next year because, the investments in our allotted amount have increased. So
The
they
4
can go
million.
down. Yeah, or we can, if somebody who maybe was making, good money leaves our district, goes somewhere else, then they're no longer, their money stays with us, but whoever their new employer is would pick up their unfunded liability when they move out.
Well, and when I called you, you told me that, because that kind of blew my mind. Now I see what you're saying, because you said when we hire people from other districts then we have to pick up their unfunded. So, yeah, okay, that makes sense then.
There's a lot going on, but again, that's why they're 97% funded, and people in this system know their retirement's gonna be there when they need it. It's a really, really good program. Any other questions? A lot of numbers there.
Okay, so a motion to accept,
Yes, motion to approve the resolution.
approve the resolution, John, I'll get it out. Second?
Second.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Weaver,
Absolutely.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
All right. Last one, short and easy. We have some surplus items. MMS band and color guard uniforms, MMS band instruments that are no longer functioning, but I think they can sell off some parts and things like that. MHS got brand new band uniforms, so they have some old ones that they would like to get rid of. There's a rolling cart or sorting cooler and a rolling sorting cart at Riddle, and 17 pull-down 6-foot projector screens that were used in the 90s. If anybody's interested in these above items, please reach out to me, and I will connect you with the right person. So that's just informational. Do we need a board approval, Tim?
Yes, we need board action.
Board action to,
Motion to approve. Erica, second? Second. Cheryl, any questions? Kelly?
Uphoff,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes. Okay, reports and recommendations for the assistant superintendent.
Board has reported the December personnel reports. First up there, certified resignation. You'll see Ryan Gary's alluded to. Is retiring at the end as the DASC of the district business manager effective July 1, 2030.
that's a long way away.
Get those percentages down in the IMRF fund. But Ryan's been with the district for, at that time, upon his retirement, 32 years. 1 year up in the suburbs and came down here, so Ryan's filled a math position at high school for some years, coached a variety of different sports, varsity level, and he started off as a middle school teacher. I can't see it, but I understand, but that's where you are at. But it's done a great job, so thank you, Ryan. Wish you well in retirement. Moving on, certified appointments, Naya Donaldson, recommended substitute teacher effective immediately. Ashley Drake, substitute teacher effective immediately. No classified resignations at this time. Classified appointments, Rebecca Eaton, recommended as transportation service center bus aide for Route 7 effective immediately. Ashley Boone is a sub-secretary, and Jenna Dallas is a substitute secretary as well. Immediately. Lastly, classified appointments, Corbin Bateman is a volunteer effective immediately. He's going to help out with wrestling programs. Jeff Raboyne is a volunteer effective immediately. No extracurricular resignations, and lastly, extracurricular assignments, Melissa Cole recommending Benton High School head softball coach effective immediately. Are there any questions? See none, then I would recommend that the board accept the personnel report as presented.
Motion. Erica, second? Cheryl? John? John? All right, any other questions? Callie?
Hedges,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yeah.
Weaver,
Yeah.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Report and recommendations from the superintendent.
Yeah, all I have is just a presentation of the first review of the board policy revisions from the Illinois Association of School Boards. The board has received an electronic version of that. It's a hard copy up in our office if you'd like to see that. No action at this time, but we would come back at the January 14th meeting to place on the consent agenda. If you have any questions in the meantime, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. All right, 7, 8, 9, from there, 10, executive session. We're going to adjourn to executive session. 10.1, discuss matters pertaining to student discipline. May I have a motion at 7:37 to adjourn and go to executive? And there's no action afterwards. Thank you.
Motion.
Erica, second? Rocky. Callie?
Armstrong,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes. All right, thank you all for coming. Have a Merry Christmas.